Welcome to Booksoul, and here's a contemplation video after reading the first 50 pages of this book, Ultramarine, by, I keep forgetting her name, Mariette Navarro. One thing that I hadn't mentioned, which I should bring out, is that often there are some great books that are published by small publishing houses, and I'd encourage you to search out some of the smaller independent publishers, because there are some that it's really good stuff that isn't covered by all the big names. So, Ultramarine. My first impressions of the book, especially as it being a debut novel, was, or expectations rather, impressions. Expectations was that it'd be quite personal, and I immediately hit on the idea that perhaps the ship would be an analogy for the protagonist's body, their heart, their lungs, this kind of thing would relate to parts of the ship or members of the crew or something along those lines. And clearly that's not really the case if they've got into 50 pages. I think obviously you can always interpret something in a particular way that maybe the author isn't trying to do at all. But maybe there's a few little things there, if I'm kind to the idea. Another misconception that I got, which I found it really hard to get rid of, is when you're talking about a ship sailing on the ocean, you obviously get the idea of, oh, this is going to be about how life carries you along and in particular directions, and how it's deep and mysterious, and you get buffeted backwards and forwards by the wind and the tides and all the rest of it. And so I got a vision of a sailing boat, such as Columbus had crossed the Atlantic in, or Darwin would have gone on and in exploring the southern seas and this kind of thing. And it's been really hard to actually wipe that image from my mind, because this book is set very much in contemporary, and this ship that this lady is captain of, it's a container vessel. She's working on a container vessel as a captain. So it's not wood, it's all metal. And you get lots of references to metal in the writing. One of the themes that is fairly evident in the first 50 pages, which is an extremely valid one, I think, and absolutely what the book is about, is an exploration of the relationships between men and women, and the barriers to communication, and particularly looking at the exterior social embedded privileges of power and influence that men have, and the fact that from the female perspective, that can be, or is perceived as being a frailty and a vulnerability, because of the sort of internalized power that women have. And that's a strong feminist theme, which I think runs through the book. There's another dichotomy that it explores between organisation and practicality, reason, and then the world of sensory interaction with the world, and how these two differing experiences affect the action or purpose or responses that we make in our lives. That's an interesting thing, where that one will go. One huge green flag for me of I'm really enjoying this is to come across sentences that are absolutely beautiful, that illuminate and signify point you towards a deeper meaning of the text. I did mention one in that first video, but here's another, which I'm going to have to find it now. It's on page 34. Bear with me a second. Let's have a look. Oh, yes, here we go. There are the sailors, vertiginously absent, familiar with death without crossing its threshold, racked by questions that eat away at them, and who in any case are no longer there, drifting without moving, with that enviable power to observe from a distance the way life manages without them. And that just, it's just a sentence that blows apart what you're thinking about. You're away from the story then, and you're thinking, well, what does this mean? What? It's talking about different kinds of people, how they live, and their perceptions. And you can just go away and ponder that. Yeah, absolutely. And the final point that I'd like to make here is sometimes a book will remind you of another book. And that's always an interesting thing. This one, when they're talking about the abyss of the ocean, and doing descriptions of the sea and the sky and the horizon and all this kind of thing, it reminded me of In Ascension by Martin McInnes, who recently was a Booker nominated. I wasn't a big fan of that book, I must admit, but this did remind me of that. It also reminded me of, because it started talking about waves, of Virginia Woolf and the waves, which could sort of explores how the vicissitudes of life, and how you go from intensity and calm, which I think is quite a thing in this book, between intensity and calm. That's a big thing on that. And finally, being the Bob Dylan fan that I am, forever young, the phrase of begin to hear voices just went, oh right, yeah, that's from that's a lyric that Dylan has used. He's a great stealer of phrases and words. He's well read, and he uses this stuff and melds it together. So his song "Cold Irons Bound" starts, "I'm beginning to hear voices and there's no one around." Sometimes you just hit a phrase and you go, "Oh right," and then the song starts playing in your head. Now that's just me and my fun thing with Bob Dylan. Okay, so that's my contemplation video on the first 50 pages. I shan't always throw in one of these, only when it seems I've got something to say. The As I Read videos I want to put up very much pretty much straight away after I've read something, so it's very much of first impressions. Um, Contemplation is something else, and more akin to the review that you might do at the end when you finish the book. Anyway, there we go. So, cheerio from Booksolve, and happy reading to you all.